Good morning. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, signals of a slowdown. Higher costs for just about everything are taking a toll on your wallet, and new economic data this morning now points to the looming threat of a recession. We'll take a look at the impact inflation is having on the economy and your bottom line. Turbulence ahead. Soaring prices for airfare and staffing shortages mean more headaches at the airport, but that's not stopping travelers this summer. How airlines are struggling to keep up with demand and what you can do as you plan your next trip. Mysterious Death, the author of the hit novel turned movie Where the Crawdads Sing, reportedly wanted for questioning about the death of an alleged poacher in Africa in the 90s. What investigators in Africa are saying about why they want to speak with Delia Owens just as her book hits the big screen. And feeling special. If it's Friday, you know, we have the best can't miss content for your weekend. We've got a preview of Lizzo's new album Special and a new animated flick with Samuel L. Jackson that's fit for all families looking for a day at the movies. Good to have you with us on this Friday morning. Lots to talk about. We're going to begin with the economy and the effects of inflation hitting millions of Americans.
Yeah, now we've been talking about how much we're paying for things across the board, and now new numbers are giving us a sense of the toll this is taking not just on our own individual budgets, but also on businesses, big and small, that we're buying from. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch is in Hoboken, New Jersey, with the latest on this. Hey, Jesse.
Savannah and Joe, good morning. We're not the only ones, as you mentioned, that are paying more. Businesses here in Hoboken and across the country are paying more for the supplies they need to make things like food, clothing, and other goods that we all buy. Now, some of that additional cost could be getting passed along to you, the consumer, and that's just going to be adding to what are already frustratingly high prices.
Yet another inflation alarm bell blaring this morning. New June data showing year-over-year a more than 11% spike in the Producer Price Index, which tracks what companies pay to make their products. Steel and gasoline are getting more expensive, squeezing businesses, which could pass costs on to you.
It is scary because we never know when we place an order how much it's going to have gone up this week.
Jennifer Downs owns a food truck in Maine.
We did have to jump our prices between like $1 and $2 this year, which I was really scared about on how the customers would react.
Despite a strong jobs report and low unemployment, weekly jobless claims just approached 250,000, the highest point since November.
The softness we're seeing in jobless claims is perhaps a leading edge of some weakness we might be seeing where companies are letting people go, not hiring as much as before.
Real concerns for Americans paying more for everything, including the cost of borrowing money.
It might prohibit you from being able to buy a home. How does that make you feel? It's frustrating, to be honest.
The Fed possibly poised to raise interest rates again later this month as fears of a possible coming recession rise.
There's certainly a higher probability of a recession with what the Fed has to do to slow the economy with these high inflation rates. There is still some possibility we get out of this with a mild recession.
Some small businesses like this man's restaurant chain forced to close.
A lot of disappointment and sadness. As a small business owner, you put a lot of your heart and soul into it.
Others hanging on for now as consumers and businesses cope with rising costs this summer.
And what we're looking at now is consumer spending cooling, pointing toward possible recession. But not even the Fed seems to know the full scope of its impact just yet. Yesterday, one of the Fed's governors said that he's open to yet another aggressive rate hike. But first, he wants to see data that's expected in the days ahead on retail sales and on new housing construction. If those numbers come back stronger than what's expected, that could mean that demand has not cooled enough, and we could see another big rate hike. Guys, back to you.
All right, Jesse Kirsch, thank you.
The summer travel season has been chaotic, to say the least, filled with travel delays, cancellations, and airline staffing issues. And yet, despite all that, air travel is booming. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin joins us now with more on this. Hey, Aaron, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. Despite thousands of flight cancellations and delays, as you can see here at 5 in the morning at LAX airport, there is a long check-in line outside the airport. Demand for summer travel is not slowing down.
It's getting better, but the mess in the skies is still ongoing. The airlines continue to delay or cancel flights every day. 50,000 delays and 4,000 cancellations so far this month, and counting.
I think the airlines, the airports themselves as well, have operated as best as they can with a lot of unknowns. And I do expect that we're going to see throughout the end of this year some balancing of capacity schedules.
The biggest issue, staffing, as airlines work to get back to pre-pandemic staffing levels. Delta and Southwest say they're about there, but they still have to get the employees, including pilots, trained.
Yeah, it's not about hiring people. It's a question of getting our staffing trained through the pilot training bubble that we're going through with flight attendants and mechanics as well.
The staffing logjam impacting airports as well as airlines. Heathrow, one of Europe's busiest hubs, citing labor shortages, has taken the drastic step of limiting the number of passengers who cycle through the airport each day until mid-September.
We were stranded, 2 young children. What do you do?
Bags piling up at the airport, and Delta even flying a plane with just luggage back to the U.S. But despite the delays, cancellations, reduced flight schedules, and the highest flight prices in 10 years, demand is still increasing, 40 to 50% higher now than in January. The TSA routinely screening more than 2 million people daily.
You're also going to be paying more this year for airfare than you probably have paid for vacation. Definitely in the last 2 years, but probably in the last 5 years or more.
So if you're still looking to travel this summer, how can you avoid problems? Experts say if you fly middle of the week and early in the morning, you're much less likely to be disrupted by delays or cancellations. Also, be flexible. If you fly a day or two before an important event, the odds are better that if you do get disrupted, you can still get there on an alternate flight.
All right, Aaron, thank you so much.
Let's head overseas now for the latest on President Biden's trip to the Middle East. The president met with his Palestinian counterpart earlier this morning in the occupied West Bank. He vowed not to give up on the peace process, saying, quote, Palestinians are hurting and that they deserve a state. NBC News senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins us now from Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, which is where the president is heading next. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But let's start with the president's meetings earlier today, Kelly. So Palestinians have been living under Israeli occupation for decades now. What do you think about the president's words here on statehood? Is that enough, or is this kind of kicking the issue down the road?
Well, the president was very clear that he knows that it is not an active discussion right now to have what's known as a two-state solution, a free Jewish state in Israel and a free Palestinian state for the Palestinian people. But that is a long-held view of President Biden. And so affirming that certainly goes a long way. He also talked about the fact that he restored U.S. funding to support Palestinians, something that had been cut by former President Trump when he was in office. And so this was a chance for some outreach. We had not seen an American president and the Palestinian leader side by side like we did today for several years. And so President Biden wanted to make that a part of the visit to Israel, to go to the West Bank, to hear the concerns of the Palestinian leaders, and to talk about issues that matter to them. There's a pretty clear acknowledgement there won't be any immediate solution because it takes the Israelis and the Palestinians to work on this, and the U.S. can be a help, but isn't right in the middle of it. But it seemed to be, by all appearances, a gesture that was appreciated today and a start of a renewed conversation. Savannah?
And the president also addressed what has been a flashpoint recently, the killing of Palestinian American and Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, who UN investigators say was shot by the Israeli military while covering a raid. What did he say about that?
Well, the president did acknowledge this, and she was an American citizen, and her presence was certainly very evident in the room because journalists wore T-shirts with her face. There was a seat saved for her. Had she lived, she would have been participating in that kind of a press event with the two leaders. So she was very much present there, and her colleagues and friends supporting her memory and wanting an investigation and justice for her. And the president said that he does believe there needs to be accountability and transparency on that. And he said that her loss is a painful one, and he hopes that her life will inspire others to tell the stories of the Palestinian people. It was an important acknowledgement from the president. Her family would like to have met directly with the president. We don't believe that has happened today or is on the schedule for today, but the Secretary of State has been in touch with them as well. Savannah?
Kelly, let's look ahead to Saudi Arabia now, where the president will have a meeting with the Saudi crown prince, a key figure in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, a Washington Post journalist, but also a key figure when it comes to these oil prices that we're dealing with. We know energy supply and human rights, those two things are going to be high on the agenda. Tell us what we can expect.
Well, the president has for quite some time now tried to de-emphasize any meeting directly with Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, MBS as he's casually known, wanting to emphasize that this is a regional conference and the United States is coming to try to show leadership in this area. The president said he didn't want to leave a void of leadership that could be filled by China or Russia, so he wanted to participate. But so much of the attention is on the fact that the president will be face-to-face with MBS. The king, who is the head of state, is elderly and not well, and really effectively MBS is the leader of this country. And so while the White House has tried to say the president would be meeting with the whole leadership team, in fact, he will be meeting directly with MBS and then participating in other events here. That is an uneasy thing for the president politically because he has called out MBS for his role. The U.S. believes he ordered the killing of that journalist back in 2018, and broader human rights issues that are constantly a concern for the U.S. when it comes to Saudi Arabia. The Saudis wanted a presidential level visit, and that is what they are getting here. And our colleagues on our White House team have been working on this issue of the president's reluctance to come to Saudi Arabia, something that really played out over several months. And ultimately, he was convinced that the U.S. has to be a player in the Middle East in a new way, and that he would have to come here and deal with the issues. Energy is part of it, but it does go beyond that. And we'll be watching closely how this all plays out. Savannah?
All right, Kelly O'Donnell, so many important conversations happening now. Thanks for covering it all.
This morning, we're remembering Ivana Trump, the ex-wife of former President Donald Trump and the mother of their three oldest children, Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka. She died Thursday inside her Manhattan home at the age of 73. NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson joins us now with a look back at her life. Hey, Ann.
Good morning, Joe. You know, back in the 1980s, Donald and Ivana were the power couple here in New York City. Together, they built the global Trump empire, but their partnership was short-lived. They went through a very messy and public divorce, and after that, Ivana wrote her own legacy as an independent businesswoman and mother.
Once more, the cameras waited for Ivana Trump.
It's been a very sad day, guys. Very sad day.
Her son Eric delivering the difficult news. A New York City official telling NBC News the 73-year-old was found on the spiral staircase in her Upper East Side apartment. Former President Donald Trump praising his ex-wife is wonderful, beautiful, and amazing. Her three children remembering their mother as an incredible woman who taught them about grit, toughness, compassion, and determination. If living well is the best revenge, Ivana Trump got that and more, as she advised Goldie Hawn, Diane Keaton, and Bette Midler's characters in the film The First Wives Club.
Ladies, we have to be strong and independent. And remember, what? Don't get mad, get everything.
She met Donald Trump in 1976 and married him the next year. Together, they developed hotels that, like themselves, shouted 1980s glitz and excess.
You're working as a team, and you're working on the same thing.
The pair ruled New York's tabloids, and when they split over his affair with Marla Maples, it was a headline writer's dream. The couple's divorce settlement even parodied on Saturday Night Live.
I didn't think we had anything to talk about.
Oh, I think we do, Donald. You see, I have no intention of settling for $25 million.
After the divorce, the first Mrs. Trump sold jewelry and clothing under her own name and wrote books, a businesswoman on her own, but always connected to her former husband. Ivana describing their relationship post-divorce here on Today in 1995.
Actually, it took me about 2 years to get over it, and then we had to talk. We had three beautiful children, and we had something in common, obviously, because we were married once.
And when he went to the White House, the two stayed in touch, Ivana even calling herself First Lady back in 2017.
I have the direct number to the White House, but I don't really want to call him there because Melania is there, and I don't want to cause any kind of jealousy or something like that, because I'm basically first Trump wife, okay? I'm First Lady, okay?
She married 4 times. Her true pride, their 3 children. She got custody after the divorce. Writing of Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric in her memoir, Raising Trump, Our bond was and is our most valuable possession.
Officials say there is no sign of foul play, and a medical examiner will determine the cause of Ivana Trump's death. She leaves behind not just her 3 children with the former president, but also 10 grandchildren. Joe?
All right, Ann Thompson, thank you so much.
And now let's get a check on your morning news now. Weather for the upcoming weekend.
Yeah, Michelle Grossman is here. We like that word, weekend. Good morning, Michelle.
Yeah, we definitely do. Hi there, guys. Happy Friday. And we're following the same stories. We're stuck in this pattern with the heat in place, also summer downpours. So that's what we're seeing right now. And that's what we're going to continue to see throughout the weekend. So taking a look at the map for what we're expecting today, we do have heat advisories in place in the middle of the country, heat warnings in parts of the Rockies. Severe storms are possible in parts of the northern plains and at least the state of Montana. Monsoon rain in the southwest, showers and storms in the southeast. So we could see quite a bit of rain in parts of the southeast. So we have that scorching summer that we're going through right now. Temperatures climbing into the triple digits in some spots, 110 in Palm Springs, 111 in Phoenix, 100 degrees in Amarillo. You factor in the humidity in Tulsa, it's going to feel like 105 today, and it will feel like 102 in Omaha. That heat will continue tomorrow because we're looking at temperatures once again into the upper 90s, into the triple digits, and that heat is as far north as Rapid City, 92 tomorrow, 99 in Salt Lake City, triple digits in Las Vegas, Tucson, Roswell, and into Tulsa, Dallas, also Del Rio. Del Rio, you're going to feel like 100 degrees tomorrow. So satellite radar showing us that we do have some showers this morning. We're looking at a complex of thunderstorms moving through the Midwest. That's going to cause some problems at the airports there. Also looking at a frontal boundary, bringing some showers and storms in the southeast. Again, these could bring some pretty heavy downpours, so we do have the risk for flash flooding as we go throughout the afternoon hours. And this rain will continue into the weekend, too, in parts of the southeast. So here's a setup first in the Midwest. We have a frontal boundary moving through that's bringing that complex of storms that I just showed you. Major airport delays are expected, and then it moves off to the east tomorrow. So now parts of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, you could see some showers and storms, and that will linger into parts of Sunday. So we're looking at some wet weather in the Northeast, and we're looking at quite a bit of rain, you guys, in parts of the Midwest. Chicago could see up to 2 inches in spots.
All right, Michelle, thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend.
Sure. 2 months ago, the city of Buffalo was rocked by a deadly shooting at a Tops supermarket there. 10 people died in the racially motivated massacre. Now the community is beginning to heal, and today Tops is reopening its newly renovated store with a memorial dedicated to the lives lost that day. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa is there. So Emily, I know you've taken a look inside the store yourself. Tell us about the changes, the new renovations, and that memorial that's dedicated to the victims.
Well, certainly a lot of changes. Good morning to you, Joe. You think about it, and there were dozens of shots fired on the Tops property. So it really required a lot of extensive renovations, a complete makeover to this Tops supermarket behind me. Looking outside, there's a newly paved parking lot, new signage, new paint. If you go inside, it's a completely new layout, new products. And then, of course, that memorial that you talked about, it's what they're calling a water wall with water flowing over into a fountain of sorts. It includes writing from a local poet that talks about the healing powers of water, and it's in tribute to the 10 lives taken simply too soon. Separately, they are also beefing up security on site here, which includes enhanced video and alarm systems throughout the property. There's improved and additional lighting in the parking lot behind me, among a number of other things, just to provide an extra feeling of safety to folks returning to the store. The top CEO tells me that they're actually improving security at all of its locations in the wake of this just horrific tragedy, Joe.
And Emily, I mean, I know a top spokeswoman said in an email that relatives were communicated with about the decision to reopen, but there are still some mixed reactions. I mean, what are you hearing from people in the community about it reopening?
Yeah, really a gradient of opinions on this, and you're seeing some of that divide playing out behind me here. People holding signs in protest of the reopening saying that it's too soon and will always be too soon. Some people telling me, specifically victims' family members, that they wish that Tops had been demolished and that something like what we will see in Uvalde, Texas, and that they wanted a memorial in place, that they will never feel comfortable stepping foot on Jefferson Avenue, let alone actually stepping stepping foot into this supermarket where the memories from there just really haunt them. On the other hand, the Top supermarket here provides this really critical service. It is the only major supermarket in this neighborhood, a largely pedestrian community. And so without it, it's a food desert. And so I talked to a number of people, store employees, victims, family members who talked about these different feelings ahead of today's reopening. Take a listen. Is it surreal to be back on the ground here?
Yes, very much so.
What has it
really
been like
is.
stepping inside?
Difficult. It's been very difficult walking in and continuing on with the job that I need to do every day, because the community depends on us to be here and to provide fresh produce for them. And so we have our moments. We have our moments, and I'm just lucky enough that I have a great support group in here and great family members.
And you'll see this makeshift memorial behind me. We've seen it grow over the past 2 months. Flowers, signs, pictures. Well, the Top CEO tells me that they're also working with the local community to establish a permanent one outside the store as well, Joe.
And Emily, the accused shooter was actually indicted Thursday on more than 24 federal charges related to the shooting. Quickly, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, 27 counts involving hate crimes and firearms-related charges. And what that means, if convicted, the suspect could face the death penalty now. This comes on top of a number of state charges, including 10 counts of first-degree murder, Joe.
All right, Emily, thank you so much.
Now let's get some international headlines. 45 countries have pledged to help investigate suspected war crimes by Russian forces in Ukraine.
NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber joins us from Ukraine with more on that and more. Hey, Ellison.
Good morning to both of you. More than 40 countries have agreed to investigate suspected war crimes committed by Russian forces here in Ukraine. This comes after the most recent missile attacks in the city of Vinnytsia, a city that is very far from the front lines. At least 23 people have died in that attack, 3 children, all under the age of 10, are among the victims. Top judicial officials from across the world attended the Ukraine Accountability Conference in the Netherlands to discuss war crimes potentially committed in the past 140 days. They also discussed strategies to provide evidence for future trials. Moving on to Japan, where the prime minister is blaming inadequate police protection for the death of former President Shinzo Abe, who was assassinated while delivering a campaign speech. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has pointed out problems with security measures, showing videos of how the gunman was able to approach Abe from behind. Officials are still investigating exactly what went wrong. Prime Minister Kishida says Japan will hold a state funeral for Abe later this year. And Bhutan officially has its own standardized sign language, thanks to a group of deaf students at the Wongsel Institute for the Deaf. UNICEF says it marks a significant step forward in a country where the government is trying to address inequities in access to education. It is an important but very long process. Believe it or not, it can take researchers up to a week to standardize one single sign. Savannah, Joe, back to you.
Wow. That's pretty neat to see.
Very cool. Thank you, Ellison.
Thanks, Ellison. We're back with a closer look at Wisconsin's pivotal Senate race. A crowded field of Democrats are vying to take on Republican incumbent Ron Johnson in what's expected to be a tight general election contest this fall. Now, despite rising inflation and President Biden's falling approval rating, Democrats believe Wisconsin, a key battleground state, is one of their best chances to flip a Senate seat in November. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster has been following all this all over the Badger State. He joins us now. Hey, Shaq, good morning. Thanks for being up early for us. So I know these candidates are gearing up for a big debate this Sunday ahead of the primary election next month. So tell us, what should we know about the front runners and their campaigns?
That's right, Savannah. There'll be 5 candidates on stage. 4 of those candidates have been registering in the Marquette poll, the gold standard poll here in the state of Wisconsin. It starts with Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. He has been the early front runner in this race. He'll be campaigning today with Senator Cory Booker after last month fundraising with Elizabeth Warren. But he's been receiving a tough face-off and tough battle with Alex Lazary, the former Milwaukee Bucks executive who turned a lot of his personal wealth into campaign ads introducing himself to voters as someone who can get things done. You're seeing some of the latest polling there on your screen right now. Also registering the polls, you see Sarah Godlewski and Tom Nelson. They both say that they can win in red parts of this state. Sarah Godlewski telling us in an interview earlier this week that the abortion ruling and the abortion restrictions in the state of Wisconsin has given her campaign some new momentum. But, you know, Savannah, one thing you hear from all the candidates is it's not just about winning in places like Milwaukee and the suburbs around these cities, but they say that Democrats need to shed some of those losses that they're facing in rural communities and connect with rural voters. Listen to what these candidates said about that.
This is about the people who've been at the top and the rest of us who've been left behind. Our small family farms are getting the short end of the stick. We see corporate consolidation that is making it more difficult for our family farmers to be competitive.
Too often politicians come to rural Wisconsin, they put out their hand and say, vote for me. And the response is, where have you been? I mean, we've been #1 in farm bankruptcies for 3 years in a row. Our rural schools are struggling. A lot of them are closing. We don't have access to broadband.
And I think this is talking about how are we going to make sure that our family farms are able to compete. It's talking about how are we going to bring manufacturing jobs back? How are we going to invest in clean water and broadband all around the state?
I grew up in a blue-collar neighborhood. I spent the first 4 years outside of Parsonage in a rural community just like here in Clark County. So our campaign has been able to connect with voters, our message focusing on farm families and working families.
We had those conversations, Savannah, in a town of some 1,300 people. It's a county that President Obama won the first time in 2008 by about 8 percentage points, but President Biden lost in that county by nearly 40 points. Savannah?
And that's why we've got you there, Shaq. It's an interesting one to watch. Now, what might be even more important than hearing from these candidates is, of course, hearing from the voters. What are they telling you?
Well, you know, it reminds me of what I heard in 2020, I should say, around that presidential race, where many of the Democratic voters said it's really about the Republican incumbent, then President Trump. Many of the voters now saying that their top priority is defeating Ron Johnson. We know from polling that he is a vulnerable senator in this state that President Biden won, and many of them saying there are not that many differences between the Democratic Senate candidates right now, so their top priority is getting past this primary so they can focus their attention on Ron Johnson, who many of these Democrats in this state say is their top target in November.
And Shaq, tell us, how popular is Senator Johnson in the state right now? I mean, what's the latest polling on how he's going to fare against one of these Democratic frontrunners?
Yeah, I mentioned that Marquette University poll when we were talking about the head-to-head matchup with the candidates, but look at the popularity of Senator Ron Johnson. 46% of Wisconsin voters view him unfavorably. Only 37% view him favorably. This is important because, again, this is a battleground state. Many Democrats and political observers say that the path to Democrats winning the majority in this midterm election, which is already a tough year for Democrats, goes right through the state of Wisconsin. So that's why you're seeing national names. I mentioned Cory Booker. I mentioned Elizabeth Warren. You're seeing a lot of money that's going to be flooded into this race. And that's why Democrats are taking this primary so seriously, because they want to have the strongest candidate to face Ron Johnson, who, again, they think is extremely vulnerable this year.
Shaq Brewster, I see a lot of Wisconsin in your future.
Definitely.
All right, thanks. Good to see you.
Now to the controversy surrounding the author of the hit book Where the Crawdads Sing. A movie based on the novel hits theaters today, with author Delia Owens caught up in a real-life mystery. She's reportedly wanted for questioning about a deadly shooting in Africa in the 1990s.
Sometimes I feel so invisible. I wonder if I'm here at all.
You are. Jumping from the page to the screen, Where the Crawdads Sing is a highly anticipated film based on the best-selling novel.
The Marsh Girl. She killed him.
It's a fictional story about a murder in North Carolina in the 1960s. But in real life, author Delia Owens is facing questions about a deadly shooting in Africa in the 90s. Editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, first reported that Owens is wanted for questioning in the shooting.
I've spoken with many leaders of the criminal investigation department of the Zambian National Police,
And they are very, very eager to speak to Delia Owens.
In the mid-90s, Delia and her then-husband Mark ran a conservation center in Zambia, protecting elephants from poachers. In 1996, they were the subject of an ABC documentary called Deadly Game, where one scene shows an alleged poacher being fatally shot. NBC News has not reviewed the documentary, and the victim is not identified. Neither is the shooter, a mystery that was never solved.
Zambian authorities don't believe that Delia was directly involved in the murder or the disposal of the body. Delia told me point blank that they knew nothing of this murder and they have absolutely nothing to do with it.
Years later in 2018, Delia was in the spotlight again, this time for the success of her debut novel, Where the Crawdads Sing has sold more than 12 million copies and just spent its 166th week on the New York Times bestsellers list, setting the record for holding the #1 spot longer than any other novel.
Which I just love this book.
Reese Witherspoon chose it for her book club, then produced the movie, which held a star-studded premiere this week and features a title song by Taylor Swift.
Every creature does what it must to survive.
The movie about a young woman accused of a fictional murder, written by an author, still wanted for questioning in an actual case that's more than a quarter-century old. This morning, a source tells us Delia Owens and her legal team have already addressed this publicly, that she was not involved and that there were never any charges filed for any illegal incidents. Goldberg tells us investigators in Africa see her as an important witness. Now, NBC News has reached out to Mark Owens, ABC News, and Zambian officials for comment. We have not heard back. In media reports, Mark Owens, through his lawyer, has always denied any wrongdoing or involvement in the Zambia shooting. As cryptocurrency plunges in value, it's also at the center of the racial wealth gap debate.
Yeah, that's right. With black investors more likely to invest in crypto, the recent crash is draining more wealth from black Americans than white Americans. And while some say it's evidence crypto is a bad deal for investors of color, others insist it is the path to financial freedom. NBC News correspondent Zinkley SMO is with us on set to tell us more. Hey, Zinkley.
Hey, Joe and Savannah, that is absolutely right. It is no secret that the crypto market has seen major ups and downs. So what is pushing the black community to crypto in lieu of traditional investments? Well, I spoke with fans and critics to find out.
We gave them all our cash and they gave us back this. And this is nothing.
This is Samson Williams. He's a law professor, and he's talking about cryptocurrency. Crypto is not new.
Then you see the Bitcoin dropped, and then people are like, oh, see, the whole thing was a scam. Now explain that.
But Williams, who invested in crypto for 5 years, says the emphasis on black investment in digital currency is dangerous.
This is a wealth transfer, but it's not going from the haves to the have-nots. It's going the other way.
Today, according to a recent study by Charles Schwab and Ariel Investments, 25% of black Americans own cryptocurrency, compared to 15% of white Americans. And in June, crypto hit new lows, Bitcoin dropping below $23,000 for the first time since December 2020. Williams says this crypto crash disproportionately affected black Americans, 19.5%, who already live below the poverty line, nearly double the national average.
If you don't have the income to invest and you don't know what investing means, what that really means is you are a prime target for being exploited. The cornerstones, at least here in America, of addressing the wealth gap are human rights, civil rights, and voting rights, because without those foundations, you can't get financial inclusion.
Others, like Jefferson Noel, are less skeptical. He runs Barbershop Speaks, a program that brings panel discussions to barbershops and hair salons. Today, they discuss crypto in Miami, Philly, New York, and Orlando.
We typically bring in people who have a lot of experience in crypto to come to the shop.
Their audience, mostly black and brown men in their 20s to 40s. Noel, a new crypto investor, says his portfolio is not doing well, but
markets always go up and down. That's why it's important to never invest more than you're willing to lose.
And the crypto conversation spanned beyond barbershops, even reaching local governments.
We've never had a chance like this, ever.
Elijah Jean Baudry is chairman of Miami-Dade's cryptocurrency task force, working to make Miami-Dade, Florida, the first municipality in the U.S. to accept cryptocurrency as payment as soon as fall 2022.
Not only just taxes and fees, but actually employees' salaries as well as their retirement accounts can also be converted and denominated in cryptocurrency.
Still, even as more entities invest in crypto, Williams has a warning.
What do you say to people, specifically Black people, who are holding on and say in 2022, I can still make a lot of money off of crypto?
Before you give up your hard-earned cash for this, do your homework, do your research.
And Sampson added that he hopes to see more regulation of cryptocurrencies to protect the most vulnerable investors. And overall, a big takeaway from proponents and opponents of crypto is do your research and do not invest more than you're willing to lose. So before you dive into crypto, think about that.
You don't have to worry about us.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. There'll be no NFTs for holiday gifts.
You never know. You never know.
We know.
I did a story. I got $5 in crypto as part of the story, and it went up, and then it went way down.
That's what happens.
I think it was $5. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Clay.
All right. Let's stay on your finances now and get you some more headlines. One of the first compact electric vehicles may soon be discontinued.
CNBC's Contessa Brewer joins us with that and more money headlines. Good morning, Contessa.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Savannah. The Nissan Leaf, it's one of the first mainstream and one of the cheapest electric vehicles, maybe on the chopping block. Automotive News reports that Nissan does not plan to introduce a new version and may actually discontinue that line altogether. The production of the current version of the Leaf is set to wind down by mid-decade. Now, this would be the latest, smaller-sized vehicle to fall victim to Americans' appetite for big trucks and SUVs, even though gas prices are sky high. The Leaf is the only electric car that Nissan actually sells in the United States. Bank of America is being fined more than $200 million by government regulators for what they call a botched handling of jobless benefits during the pandemic. They say as more people filed for unemployment, Bank of America, which administered prepaid debit cards on behalf of a dozen states, used an automatic fraud filter that improperly froze thousands of accounts. Bank of America allegedly made it difficult for people to unfreeze those cards, did not fully staff its call centers, and left people on hold for hours. B of A is being ordered to repay those harmed consumers. The silver bullet is heading back to the Super Bowl. Molson Coors is returning to the big game for the first time in more than 30 years. The move comes after rival Anheuser-Busch announced it would end its 33-year deal with the NFL, which made it the exclusive alcohol advertisers during the game. That deal had shut out other brewers. Molson Coors says it plans to run just one 30-second ad during the Super Bowl, but aims to make it unforgettable. As a brewer myself, Joe and Savannah, I say there's always room for more brewers.
Yes, okay. And then maybe you someday can have a commercial for your product.
It depends on whether the crypto goes up or not.
There you go. All right. Good to know. All right.
Fun fact about Contessa. Love it.
Thanks, Contessa. So the Great Resignation is still underway, with many stepping away from the traditional 9-to-5 for a more flexible lifestyle.
Yeah, one of those people was Tori Dunlap. Tori quit her job at, get this, 25 years old after saving $100,000. Now she wants to help others do the same as a finance influencer on TikTok. Tori, founder of financial education company, Her First 100K. What a great name, by the way. Joins us now to explain her success. Hey, Tori, good morning. Thanks for being with us. So I want to start.
Good morning, Savannah.
And we want to start from the beginning. So you decide to start saving money. Tell us about quitting your job, and then tell us about actually getting to that 100K, having enough to launch a career.
Yeah, so I was running Her First 100K on the side of my 9-to-5 in marketing. It kind of took off in 2019, and then I literally hit my 100K, was on a huge news outlet, and then quit my job 3 weeks later. And now we're a global company. We have 13 team members. We have 3 million followers. I have a book coming out. Like, it's just been absolutely crazy since then.
That is a great story. So your company focuses on financial education for women. So what are the obstacles women face when they are trying to build equity and build wealth?
I mean, Joe, how much time do you have? There's so many things, right? We talk about the wage gap a lot, like 77 or 80 cents to a man's dollar, even worse if you're a woman of color. But we're not talking about the investing gap, right? The fact that women are not investing at the same rate men are. And it becomes this huge issue where men are retiring with more money than women, but women are living 7 years longer than men are. There's so many other, reasons that women are affected by, the lack of personal finance education. It's everything from the taboo around talking about money to feeling like, okay, I can't ask for more because I should just be grateful at my job. There's a lot of these narratives that we unfortunately believe as women that are perpetuated to keep us underpaid and overworked.
Oh, gosh, all amazing points. All right, Tori, if somebody's listening and they're like, oh, this is all that I want to do is create this safety net, get out of this job I don't like. I mean, where can you start, especially if you're on your own? It's not, you don't have family help, anything like that. How do you start with building a safety net? What's the first step?
Yeah, that first step is an emergency fund, even if you have debt, even if you have tens of thousands of dollars of debt. So set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account. So you can set up, okay, even if it's just $20 a month, I know it's happening on autopilot. We call it paying yourself first in the personal finance industry. If you're sending Netflix more money every month than you're paying yourself, like we need to change that. Not cancel your Netflix subscription, but rather give yourself as much money as you're giving Netflix. And then, like the graphic said, moving on to that higher interest debt like credit cards, and then starting to invest. If you get some sort of match in your 401k, that is free money. So take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Tori, also, I'm wondering, just as a lot of people probably know you from TikTok, what it's been like to use this social media platform to launch this business that's so finance oriented.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people will ask me like, oh, that seems really sketchy, or like financial advice on TikTok. Like, that sounds ridiculous. The truth is that you have to meet people where they are. So if we're talking about money, this very taboo topic that feels intimidating, why not show up in a 60-second TikTok for a 25-year-old who is trying to learn about money? I think that makes sense, right? I want to meet people where they are. I want to become the person that is giving this advice in an accessible way, rather than, something that's hoity-toity or you're never going to find this advice. So I think there's a lot of people who think that TikTok advice might be a little sketchy. There's definitely some sketchy advice out there. However, we've seen TikTok and our platform literally change people's lives. So, I'm a huge supporter of it.
That's cool, especially for young people, because I had very little financial education when I was in school growing up. None, so I wish I would have. So that's
absolutely
great.
Getting it on TikTok instead of in school. It's the way to go. Meet them where they are. Tori Dunlap, thank you so much. Great to see you. Welcome back. The Beehive is buzzing after Queen Bee joined TikTok. In her first video, she compiled a series of clips users uploaded to the social media app with her new hit, Break My Soul. In the video, multiple users, including rapper Cardi B, sing and dance along to the song. And it's no surprise that she picked up more than 3 million followers just within hours of launching her account. Beyonce's entire catalog is now also available to TikTok users to use in their own creations to add as a sound. Her foray into TikTok comes just ahead of this month's release of Renaissance, which is her first solo album in 6 years, which obviously we're all very excited about. Joe, maybe this is a sign you should join TikTok.
Yeah, maybe. For Beyonce, sure. Why not? We'll see. Thank you, Savannah. All right, art conservators in Scotland got a surprise when they took an X-ray of Van Gogh's Head of a Peasant Woman for an upcoming exhibition. Here's NBC News foreign correspondent Kelly Kobiea with more on the thrilling discovery.
Van Gogh's Head of a Peasant Woman, described as a modest little painting by one of the world's most famous artists. That is, until another face appeared on the back of the canvas, the ghostly image of the artist himself.
This face with very brooding features, very recognizable, and he's wearing a hat.
What a find.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. I think we're all still reeling from the shock.
The self-portrait was covered in glue and cardboard for over 100 years and only discovered by chance when one of her experts took an X-ray.
Such a major discovery of an alternative composition happens once, twice in a conservator's lifetime.
Van Gogh, whose works like Sunflowers and Starry Night are among the most famous in the world, painted himself at least 35 times, now 36.
Are there more out there?
Well, possibly, yes.
A rare double-sided Van Gogh, making this modest little painting priceless. Experts will try to remove all of the glue and cardboard to confirm the authenticity and one day reveal one of the art world's most famous faces. Kelly Kobiea, NBC News.
So cool. I'm obsessed with that story. All right, now get your popcorn or coffee ready because it's Friday, which means it's time for our can't miss list. All the movies, TV, music you should check out this weekend.
And joining us now with some of his top picks is entertainment journalist and pop culture expert Brian Balthazar. Brian, all right. So we already talked about Where the Crawdads Sing, which is one of this weekend's big movies. We won't make you delve. We won't make you delve into that. What else is opening in theaters today that we can't miss?
It's exciting to say we have lots of choices at the movies this weekend, and one of them is Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. This one's for the kids. Take a look. You got this little hound who decides he needs to defend a village of cats that are in danger, so he wants to become a samurai. That's Michael Cera as the hound, and we have Samuel L. Jackson as the trainer. Incidentally, also, we have Mel Brooks as a voice and a co-writer of the screen, because the film is actually kind of loosely inspired by Blazing Saddles. So there's a lot of reference to that film in there, and that's one for the kids. And then we have Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. This was for the adults, and on paper, it doesn't sound like much, but it's a heartwarming story. It's about a working-class woman who falls in love with a dress, a Christian Dior dress, but she can't afford it, 600 pounds. At that time, that's huge, right? Still, it's expensive now, but the way she gets in the room, the way she gets what she wants is kind of an inspiring tale for both those in the movie and those of us watching. So I think that's going to be kind of a heartwarming tale to inspire us this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see that one. All right. Now, let's talk more about some fashion there. So there's a new series that looks at Victoria's Secret. And just like that recent documentary that we talked about here about Abercrombie & Fitch, this one shows a not-so-pretty side about the people behind the brand. What do we know about it? It's called Victoria's Secret Angels and Demons.
That's right. This is the 3-part series on Hulu following a brand's rise and fall, really, about its notoriety and really how it became kind of tone deaf to its ways and affiliations there. You saw Jeffrey Epstein because Les Wexman, the CEO, used him as his financial advisor. So it's a tale of misogyny, of tone deafness as it relates to body image. You see the connections there. And then, of course, transphobia. So this is a brand that was once the lingerie brand and has kind of had a stark change in its public perception. And, of course, this exposes some of those creepy, for lack of a better word, affiliations with Jeffrey Epstein.
All right.
So that's one. On a lighter note, we have a great interview show on Peacock with Kevin Hart. I don't know if you've seen this one, Heart to Heart. He interviews the most popular celebrities in his kind of wine room. And it's kind of like a modern day Larry King. He gets to the tough questions, but it's a lot of fun and it's funny. This year we have Pete Davidson and Jay-Z kicking off the first 2 episodes. Again, that's on Peacock. And we just kind of get inside the lives of celebrity and business and personal lives of these really interesting people.
All right.
Davidson, a big one.
Those are good conversations there. All right, finally, 2 huge albums dropping this morning. If you're very quiet, you can hear one of those artists singing just outside of 30 Rock. What should we be listening to this weekend?
It's about damn time that Lizzo released her album. It's exciting. This is the day. I have to say, she and Beyonce, we're not talking about this enough. They're going to be competing for the Song of Summer, I'm telling you. But she wrote what she says was between 170 and 200 songs to come up with the 12 songs that she features on her album Special. I did see her at the Plaza once. She's just an amazing artist, and she really said she wanted to give this. She's been working on it for 2 years. She wanted this to be a love affair with her fans and make this really special, and that's what it is. And it's going to be a hit. It's just going to be a hit. I'm putting it out there. We'll talk. You can say I'm right later. And then we have one of the members of BTS, you know who we're talking about. J-Hope is his solo album. And if you don't know who he is, think about what Harry Styles is to One Direction. J-Hope is a music maker, a fan favorite, and his album just came out too. And so, one of them leaked earlier this month, I should say, and was already kind of getting initial buzz as a success. So, and he had a song a few months ago called Chicken Noodle Soup, I think. So the titles are always a little bit strange, but the music is really catchy and buzzy. The videos, as you can see, amazing. So everyone's going to be listening to this too.
All right, Brian, we love the roundup. Like you said, we're just not talking about this enough. We'll do it here at Can't Miss List. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. All right, that does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.